Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What kind of slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm gonna burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? I have no shame here, so this is Better Off Dead. I'm Toad, obviously. I'm back with you. This is gonna be, I'm gonna just give out some college football predictions as far as maybe like who I think might win the power conferences, maybe I guess who may make the playoffs out of those conferences, and maybe who I think might have decent chances to win the playoffs. Hard Edge, what's up, man? Good to see you. Yeah, West Virginia obviously is going to run the table this year. Everybody knows this. A new peak, actually. Well, I did go 2-0. If you guys watched my show this morning, follow my bets. We had an outright winner on a massive WNBA underdog with the Chicago Sky. They won outright. I was pretty sure it was a wire-to-wire, real easy cover. I mean, obviously I didn't watch it. And then the Houston Astros, also an easy winner. They hadn't scored at all, and they finally actually scored tonight. So how about that? No shame. Yeah, well, hopefully that's true. I mean, you guys are here to support me as I try to, dude, I'm trying to learn while I do this too, because like the way that I handicap this, I just do it like on the fly, like almost week to week. So I don't really do a whole lot with futures. I know a lot more about what's going on with the personnel in the NFL, and people even said that Clint and I were retarded for that. So you guys can go check out Bald, where we talked about our playoff predictions for the NFL. I might do one more NFL prediction show one more time, just solo, but I don't know yet, because obviously NFL is going to start. Well, it starts 2 weeks from now, I guess, right? Because college football, I'm talking about it now because week 0 is going to be starting on Saturday, and I am probably going to have one play in week 0. So I'm going to do the week 0 show tomorrow night, probably at midnight. So you guys can look out for that. And I believe we will probably give out one play, which Hard Edge, because he's in the Twitter group chat here that I constantly leave. He probably already knows what that play is. All right. The way I'm going to do this is I'm going to go through all the conferences one by one. Basically, I have the odds up on DraftKings so we can see like maybe where we might be getting some value in some of these conferences. I have the CBS Sports page up that lists all the returning production, which is basically which players that were essentially starters last year, I believe, are coming back this year, more or less. So obviously returning production is a big thing, but more so early in the season. But I think it does kind of have an effect like later on as far as like telling you what, like how experienced these teams are. I think experience does matter late as well as it matters in the early portions of the, it matters early in the early portions of the season, but it matters like when you come down to like the big games, basically. Like these guys have big game experience playing together, essentially. And then I do also have a coaching carousel page up here. This page is kind of hard to read, but I mean, I guess we'll try to figure it out. I don't know, dude, the conference realignments are also fucking me up because it's like, I don't even know if the Pac-12 is back or if the Pac-12 just still has 2 teams in it, but I guess we'll find out when I go through these here. But I'm only going to go through like the power conferences, and maybe I will mention a couple of things about some of the smaller conferences. I will mention, just because our West Virginia guy is here, another West Virginia school, Marshall, is probably going to be the worst team in all of FBS college football, top tier Division I. Marshall, if you guys kind of remember, Marshall, basically their entire team left before the bowl. They made a bowl last year. They had a good season in, I forget which conference they were even in, because they've been in the MAC. I think they might have been in Conference USA now. Somebody could, or American Conference. I don't even know what conference they were in, man. Whichever conference they were in, they had a good season, but then they all bailed on the bowl game. So they didn't even play. They did not have enough players to even field a team in the bowl game, and that's carrying over to this year. It's basically their entire team left and went to Southern Miss. So their coach, and he brought like a bunch of players with some. Marshall, they're going to be like a complete whole of a team, especially early. And they get to play Georgia, I'm pretty sure, in week 1. So isn't that a whole lot of fun? They're probably like a 40-point underdog in the first game. And I might like recommend probably laying the points if you actually want to get involved in that game. That's how bad it is for Marshall. So I just figured I would point that out because that's a unique situation. They're not going to be good early in the season, I would not imagine. And Southern Miss probably will do pretty well because all those guys got carried over. Campbell, they're not in FBS football, man. Campbell, they are D1 basketball, so probably are they D1 football? I don't even know. Maybe they're not even D1 football. ACC, because it's first alphabetically, we got the ACC here, which of course, but because I'm in Massachusetts, DraftKings is not giving us a line on Boston College here, which I don't really think Boston College is very relevant anyway, so who cares? They actually lost Castellanos, their quarterback, he stopped playing later in the season. Castellanos is being like a huge dick, and I think he's actually on Florida State now, if I'm not mistaken. So I have to kind of keep up with all these personnel changes and like where did this quarterback go and whatever. But I'm going to try to break this down at least quickly. I mean, this is going to be total retardation on the show. FCS is where Campbell is. All right. I don't follow FCS at all, other than I know that you had like North Dakota State, like Montana State, like those are some of the better teams. And I think some of those teams have actually moved up to FBS this year. Yeah. D1, FCS. Yeah. But I only focus on FBS for my purposes. Anyway, ACC, Clemson obviously has the best odds to win the ACC, and they have a lot of returning production here for Clemson. I think they actually might have the most returning production in all of college football. Cade Klubnik is their quarterback. He's back. They got a bunch of wide receivers coming back. Looks like they did lose a running back, but I think running backs are some of the more easy players to kind of replace. I hate that this video is playing, by the way. I'm like, stop. I don't know. I don't care what Bryant McFadden and Tommy Tran and Chip Patterson, is that his name? What all those guys are saying. I don't give a shit. But anyway, Clemson, my guess is that Clemson is probably going to win the ACC again. I mean, I think they're still the best team. They obviously have Dabo Swinney, very experienced coach. I don't know what is going on outside, man. It's a Thursday night. I live across from a bar. Don't want to dox myself, but there's something going on out on the street there, and it's like, I don't know, there's some bad shit going on. I hear a bunch of cars honking. I hate that shit. I hate when people like rev their engines late at night too. It's like people are trying to sleep, motherfucker. People should get arrested for that shit. Anyway, I think Clemson is probably going to still be the winner, even though I know it looks almost too easy. Everybody knows Clemson. They're always one of those like top teams that kind of has championship aspirations every single year. They still have Dabo Swinney there, I'm assuming, who's been there forever. So they got the experience. They got there's quarterback is still there. So, you know, a lot of momentum, or not momentum, but a lot of stuff kind of carries through to this season. Clemson, of course, did make the playoffs last year, although they weren't that good. Generally, I do think the ACC is down, though, after these conference realignments, because the ACC is so stupid now, man. The Atlantic Coast Conference is now the American, or no, what is it? Is it the American Coastal Conference? I don't even know what it is, but they now obviously have California teams in here, Cal and Stanford, and the travel is so bad for these teams that they just, I mean, look at their odds. Like, they basically have no chance to win. Even though Stanford, by the way, they have Frank Reich as their quarterback now, or the quarterback, as their coach. He used to be a quarterback. Frank Reich, by the way, he was the Buffalo Bills quarterback in the largest comeback in playoff history, I believe, against the Houston Oilers, for you 90s boys, if you remember that game. Frank Reich, though, he was the coach for Indianapolis Colts for a while. He was in the Eagles organization for a while, I believe, but he's the coach for Stanford now, but they just have no personnel. And Andrew Luck is actually in their front office now, too, I'm pretty sure, or something like that. But we'll see if Frank Reich can do anything at Stanford. But it's not going to be very good, I don't think, for them, obviously. But I just figured it was interesting. I'll point that out. Yeah, William and Mary, Marist, Stony Brook. I mean, I talk about all those teams in basketball. Yeah, that's right. No noise after 10 p.m. Basketball, I try to handicap all of D1, which is insanity, and it did not work out for me this past year. But I've had good years as well. Zach, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, the American ass cuppers. The other teams that do have a chance in the ACC, I kind of feel that Miami is almost being overlooked, even though I kind of always think that Miami tends to actually be overrated. But like in the ACC, all I'm hearing is like Clemson. But I mean, I think Clemson does deserve to be the basically the favorite to win this conference. And I hear a lot about Louisville. Like Louisville's kind of this up and coming program, but I think Louisville is not returning their quarterback. They are returning some of their other guys. So Louisville, they're a program kind of on the up, but they actually don't have a lot of returning production here. It looks like only 8 starters, I guess, are returning, so that's not really that great for them. So we'll see what happens with that. And Clemson, on the other hand, by the way, how many returning starters do they have? A lot, 16. So almost everybody on Clemson is returning, which I think is going to matter. And yeah, but Miami, I think, does have a chance because, as people might know, Miami does have Carson Beck now. He moved over from Georgia, so he does have experience playing against SEC defenses. So I think he's going to have an easier time against ACC defenses. And I know people like to shit on Carson Beck, the way that he looks. He kind of looks like a bird or whatever, and who even knows, man. But he got injured towards the end of last year, so I think he didn't play in the playoffs. So they were missing him in the playoffs. But I think Beck is, I mean, he's still a good quarterback. He's an experienced quarterback. And again, he's stepping down in the level of talent with the defenses that he's facing. So I actually think it's a good pickup from Miami. But Miami still has Mario Cristobal as their coach, I think, and he tends to make a lot of mistakes. But I do think Miami is going to contend. At least I think their offense should be really good again. I know they lost Cam Ward, of course, to the draft, but I think their offense is still going to be good this year. SMU still has their quarterback coming back, I believe, in Jennings, so their offense might be still fairly good as well. But I think SMU overperformed last year, man. I was not a believer in SMU. I know they made the playoffs. I think they beat Clemson in the ACC title game last year, which I think Clemson's going to really focus on it this year because they focus on that every year, and they're going to want to get back to that. But SMU, I think they take a step back. I'm not really buying SMU like I didn't buy them last year, and they got their asses handed to them in the playoff against, who was it against? Penn State, maybe? So I don't think SMU is going to really do anything. Louisville, again, I don't know if I'm necessarily buying Louisville. I mean, I think they're a program on the rise, but they're not returning a lot of their starters either. Georgia Tech, I think kind of interesting. Do they still have their quarterback from last year? Let me see. Georgia Tech, yeah, Haynes King. Georgia Tech is an interesting team, man. I think Georgia Tech, if you're looking for maybe like kind of a total long shot here, I actually don't hate Georgia Tech. I kind of liked them last year. Haynes King is like a pretty solid dual threat. Not to be confused with Jamal Haynes, their running back, who's also returning. Both Hayneses. Haynes, they're the underwear team. But I think Haynes King, he's a good dual threat quarterback, man. So I like the Georgia Tech's returning some of these guys too. Their defense is probably not going to be capable enough, not good enough, but I think they have a decent chance to make some noise here. Yeah, Carson Beck, correct. Yes, Nate, that is right. Notre Dame, you're a Notre Dame fan, Zach. I'll have to talk about Notre Dame, even though I don't think they're in a conference at all, right? Missouri State is facing SMU as their home opener. What's up, Justin? Justin is a cameraman, folks. If you don't know who Justin is, he does a lot of camera work for Missouri sports, college sports, I believe, mostly. Missouri State specifically, I think, right? For both men and women's basketball, you got the football game going on. I do think SMU should win that game against Missouri State, but I think Missouri State's pretty competitive. Beck looks like Peter Lorre, young Steve Buscemi. You mean Steve Buscemi, right? Buscemi, however you pronounce Buscemi. Yeah, I mean, which is not a good thing because Buscemi is ugly, but I like Buscemi, man. He's one of the actors that I actually don't dislike. Yes, that's right. How do you do, folks? Yes, we're all retarded here. And then we do have Duke, where I think Duke is they're switching quarterbacks again here, so I don't really know that Duke is going to do a whole lot. I forget where Duke I think, did Duke get the quarterback from Tulane maybe? Is that what I'd have to look it up. I think they have a new quarterback that I think is transferring from some other team. I think they got Tulane's quarterback, who's actually fairly good, which is probably part of the reason why Duke does have decent odds here. And then Florida State, I mean, they were the team that everybody just wanted to shit on last year because they underperformed massively last year. Florida State, I mean, they always have good recruiting, good talent level. I did say, I believe they have Castellanos now, right? The quarterback from BC, who is a complete traitor now and is going to Florida State. Like, I think he literally just basically refused to play for BC anymore at the end of the year. I'm not a fan of him. And he's being such an asshole. I think he's just being like totally cocky about this right now, about Florida State, and just like shitting on their opponents and whatever, which is going to motivate their opponents. So I'm not really seeing a whole lot going on with Florida State. And then, of course, North Carolina, everybody knows Bill Belichick is their coach now, but is he going to turn North Carolina around right now? I don't know. I mean, North Carolina, they're 40-1 here, so they're a total outlier, which I should mention. Clemson is plus 105, Miami plus 380 for the people only listening on audio when I put this out there on audio. SMU plus 850, Louisville plus 850, Georgia Tech plus 1200, Duke plus 2500, Florida State plus 2800. I know I'm skipping over Virginia Tech, North Carolina plus 4,000, but I think people are going to take. The public is probably going to be betting North Carolina just because it's Bill Belichick at 40-1. They'll probably take the shot there, but he's going to have to clean up North Carolina's defense in a massive way. Their defense has been awful for years now. Yeah, Tulane. North Carolina going to roll over. North Carolina is probably actually being coached by Bill Belichick's 25-year-old girlfriend now, actually, instead, because she seems to run him. So I'm not really expecting a whole lot from them. Virginia Tech does still have Drones coming back as their quarterback. He's a decent quarterback. They got some returning production there. They're at 35-1 there, plus 3,500. Don't know that they're going to do anything. Pittsburgh was off to a hot start last year, and they completely fell off. They're at 45-1, but one of their quarterbacks is returning in Holstein, who did play some of their games last year, because I forget who their other quarterback was who kept getting injured, but they have decent returning production, 14 players. So Pittsburgh, maybe a little bit of a sleeper, I guess, in the ACC, but they were overperforming last year, and I picked some spots to go against them, and they completely fell off. I think they might have been like 6-1, 7-1 to start last year, and then they wound up like 7-5 or something and barely got into a bowl game, whatever it was. But they do have at least Holstein, who actually did play pretty well, so he's got some experience. I don't even know what's going on with the rest of these teams, man. NC State at 45-1, Syracuse at 71-1. Of course, doesn't have McCord anymore, who was the guy that ran the show with Syracuse. So I'm not really expecting a whole lot with Syracuse because he got drafted, obviously. Virginia, decent returning core on the defense, at least. Virginia, I think, actually has a somewhat easy schedule this year, but they're at 80-1. I mean, I don't think they really have a whole lot of a shot. Pitt sucks. Yeah, pretty much. SEC having 9 games in conference coming. Yeah, that's going to start next year, I believe. I mean, it's going to battle test those SEC teams even more, man. So I think it's going to strengthen the SEC. Because, dude, basically, like, the SEC, all their teams pretty much have, multiple, total cakewalk games early in the season. So, and sometimes in the middle of the season. So that's going to eliminate, one of those games for each team. It's not going to make a huge difference, I don't think, but I think it will battle test those teams a bit more. Yeah, Belichick's getting the plasma transmissions. Yeah, that's right. And then I don't even know what's going on with NC State. I've not been paying any attention to NC State at all. They got 10 returning starters, including Bailey, their quarterback. But, I mean, not expected to do a whole lot. Anyway, I think this conference is basically Clemson's to lose. Again, I think Clemson, Miami, I think has a shot. And then I would actually say Georgia Tech is probably my third favorite just because I think Haynes King, a lot of experience there running the show there. So, but the ACC is a shitty conference, man. So, as far as, the winner of that conference will get into the playoffs, do I think that the ACC is going to get 2 teams into the playoffs like they did last year? I'm not so sure that they will. It's possible, but it seems like a bit of an outside shot there. I'm going to skip over. I'm only talking about the power conferences. I mean, but you can see here American, Tulane, even though, like we said, I think they lost their quarterback. They're at plus 320 to win that conference for whatever reason. It looks like it's going to be Tulane, Navy, UTSA. I probably would not want to have money on Tulane there. I think Navy, I mean, Navy is always kind of a force, man, with that crazy like triple option that they run. Although I think if they still have their same coach from last year, they're running like the wing T offense now, which is throwing guys off. UTSA is an up and comer as well. They're at 45. They're at 450 there. Excuse me. Navy at plus 380 and Tulane at plus 320 there. So, yeah, UTSA at 4.5 to 1 there. UTSA is a good program, man. It's flying under the radar, and they might be returning some guys as well. I'm not going to really look into it that much, but I think either Navy or UTSA would probably be my pick. Like those two teams, I think have a decent shot to win that conference. Memphis, I think, lost Hennigan, who was their starting quarterback, so not putting a whole lot of stock into them or really any of the rest of the teams in that conference a whole lot. South Florida and Army, decent odds there for them as well, but I'm not really buying either of them. As far as I know, what do I know? Big 12, we got Big 12 is totally wide open, man. There's like no clear-cut favorite here at all, with Kansas State and Arizona State both having the best odds to win at 5.5 to 1, plus 550. Will, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, this is more of just a retard stream, or I don't really know what I'm talking about here, but I would not go with Arizona State here, man. I mean, they did lose Scadaboo, as everybody knows. Everybody knows the multi-threat running back in Scadaboo. He's gone. Oops, I was typing Scadaboo. I want to type Arizona State here. They have a lot of returning starters, though. They do have the most returning starters in I guess they have the most. I thought Clemson had the most, but Arizona State actually has 17. So it's Arizona State, Illinois, and Clemson are top three. Arizona State's basically returning everybody except Scadaboo. They have 10 guys out of the 11 on defense, so their entire defense is returning. Levitt, a quarterback, returning, but only one of their wide receivers. So he's going to have to get used to having no Scadaboo anymore, so they can't run all these trick plays anymore. Arizona State, I thought they were kind of a gimmicky team last year, man. Like, I thought they overperformed. Even though their defense is returning a lot of guys, I don't think their defense is really particularly good at all. I mean, the Big 12, not known as a defensive conference, it's a pretty weak conference since the conference realignments. I think Arizona State, because they won the conference last year, everybody saw them give Texas a real scare in the playoff. I'm not buying Arizona State this year. I'm not seeing it happen. I think it's either going to be Kansas State or Utah here, and I would actually probably lean towards Utah. Kansas State, they are returning their quarterback, and I will talk about them because they're actually playing in the Dublin game, in the first game in week 0, up against Iowa State, so we get a conference matchup right away. Kansas State, they got Avery Johnson at quarterback. He's returning, not the NBA player / coach Avery Johnson, but they got 11 returning starters, which is decent. A lot of their offense is kind of returning here. Kansas State, they were a very balanced offense last year, and they still have their top running back, and I believe one of their top wide receivers coming back. So Kansas State, I think they're going to have that continuity there. I mean, and as far as like new coaches and whatever, like I'm not really looking into what the coaching situation is for a lot of these guys, a lot of these teams, but I mean, if it's something that I know about, except for Belichick, obviously, if it's something that I really know about, I guess I'll call it out. But Kansas State, I mean, they're returning guys. They have the same coach there as well. I think there will be some continuity there. Kansas State, very balanced offense, so that's good. They can run it, they can throw it. Their defense, basically the secondary, was a huge problem last year. They were a good run defense, not a good pass defense, so I think that might hamper them a little bit, even though they're at 5.5 to 1 here as well. Utah is at 6 to 1, and I actually like Utah in this conference. I think at 6 to 1, I think it's a very, very decent bet. They have 12 returning starters, including Isaac Wilson, their quarterback. And I think Utah, part of the reason why they struggled so much last year is because of the Cam Rising situation, where Cam Rising, it seemed like he never would leave, man. Like he'd probably been at Utah for 6 years. He was an old man, and it was like, he's our quarterback. When is he coming back? And then he was always getting hurt, and there was just no continuity with Utah because of that. But now Isaac Wilson is the guy. He did play last year because he was the backup for Cam Rising, but now it's going to be his show, man. So he gets to play, and they're returning a lot of guys, so I think that's good. And the other really good thing that I like about Utah is they play physical defense and they run the football, and basically this entire conference doesn't do that. It's mostly like a finesse conference with kind of bad defenses, like air raid type offenses. So Utah brings like a different style of play here, which is why they were so good for a while in the Pac-12. They've had the same coach for like 2 decades now, too, with His name is escaping me right now. I was going to say Whisenhunt, but that's not right. It's Whittingham, Kyle Whittingham, right? That's who it is. So he's been there like forever, and he runs that. He likes to have that physical style of football team, man. I think that translates well into a conference. It's kind of a pussy conference, really. So I like Utah to actually probably win this conference. Matthew, West Virginia Stone Cold Lock. That's right. The West Virginia fandom here in the chat. The Pac-2, is the Pac-2 still a thing? I know it's going to be the Pac-12 again at some point, and they're going to bring in, I think they're going to get like Boise, and some of these other teams are going to be in the new Pac-12, but I guess it's still the Pac-2 for another year. It's just Washington State and Oregon State. I got basically nothing to say about that. They're like not even a conference. They're just orphans. Texas Tech in the Big 12 is at 6-1. They have 12 returning starters as well, including Morton, their quarterback, a couple of wide receivers coming back. Texas Tech, their defense was really, really bad last year, though, so I don't know if I'm really buying that Texas Tech's defense is all of a sudden going to be a lot better or anything like that. I much prefer Utah at the 6-1 price than Texas Tech. Baylor could be kind of a program on the rise again. They're at 7-1 here. Baylor, they started doing well. They had a really bad first half last year, but they started playing way better in the second half. They made a bowl. Personally, I think they should have won the bowl. They have Sawyer Robertson returning at QB. They have 13 returning starters. Baylor, they definitely have a chance here. They can make some noise in this conference. The Pac-2, Pac-2, that's right. Not a Pac, Whisenham. He's pissing on the Holiday Ham. TCU is at 8.5-1. You know me, if you follow me, I don't really like TCU. I haven't liked TCU for a while. They also only have 9 returning starters, which I'm not sure is great, although one of them is Hoover, their quarterback, but like all of his targets are gone. TCU has been just a really, really bad defense for a while now. I'm not really seeing it for TCU. Iowa State, interestingly, because remember, they're playing Kansas State in this first Dublin game, and you see the odds to win this conference. The odds makers are telling you Kansas State significantly better as far as winning the conference, even though Kansas State is a short favorite in the game in Dublin, so interesting. Iowa State's all the way down at 11-1, man, and Iowa State's returning their quarterback. Becht is still there, but is he really that good? I'm not so sure, man. They're returning 14 starters. So they're returning their running backs, so they lost all of their wide receivers. So Becht needs to regain chemistry with their wide receivers, man. And their defense really wasn't good last year. So you're probably going to guess where I'm going in this Dublin game. It's going to be on Saturday. But Iowa State, I think they're going to take some time to have to rebuild that chemistry there between Becht and his receivers. I'm not sure that their offense is actually really that good, but everybody remembers them winning the Pop-Tart Bowl against Matt Campbell. Is he at Iowa State now? I forget where he is at. I know he was at Pittsburgh for a while. I think he is at Iowa State now, right? He is a solid coach. I agree with you there. But their defense has really, really been a problem, and I don't think it's going to get better, really. But everybody remembers them winning the Pop-Tart Bowl. They beat Cam Ward and Miami in the Pop-Tart Bowl, but Cam Ward left that game somewhere in the second half, just, I guess, to avoid getting injured or whatever. So I don't think I would put any stock into that game at all. And Iowa State, of course, everybody remembers they were in the conference final last year against Arizona State. Kansas State was in the running and then fell a little bit short towards the end. Remember, there was like a cluster there where so many of these teams could potentially make the conference final last year, the conference championship. It was like Iowa State, Arizona State, of course, I believe, beat Iowa State in the final there. And then Kansas State was in the mix there. BYU was in the mix. But anyway, Iowa State, I'm not totally buying it, and the odds makers don't really seem to either. Kansas is kind of interesting at 18-1. Kansas has a new coach, I believe. I forget who it is. But are they listed here? Let me see. Where's Kansas at, if they're even on here? Maybe I'm wrong. I thought they had a new coach, but I guess I'm wrong. Is the Big 12 even in here? Let me see. The Gig 12. Yeah, the Big 12. It looks like it's just Scott Frost at UCF, which I think he returned to UCF. Rich Rod at West Virginia, as the West Virginia guys pointed out. I guess those are the only new coaches there. But Kansas, I know they're doing something where they're like installing like kind of a physical style of defense there at Kansas. So I think maybe they have a new DC or something there, but that's what I'm hearing, that they're like kind of trying to go more physical on defense, because I think they probably are looking and seeing what Utah can do. Kansas, I do think they're on a little bit of the rise there, so I think they could kind of maybe surprise a little bit there. BYU, Colorado. I mean, these teams have really fallen off, man. At 20-1 for BYU, Colorado 28-1. I'm just not really seeing a whole lot going on with those teams. And then you guys, your West Virginia team there at 40-1. Not seeing it. I'm sorry about that. I don't know. These teams, it's not really worth talking about many of these teams. I guess UCF, as I said, has Scott Frost there. So I believe he's returning to UCF after I think he was at Nebraska, if I'm not mistaken, and it didn't go well from there, but they're all the way down to 55-1. They're going to need to somehow get that program to return to its better days, I guess. And Arizona, who's been one of the better teams in this conference for a while, they're all the way down at 45-1 now. So Arizona has really fallen off as well. The bowl game names, I mean, I could do a tier list of those. Some of them have changed throughout history as well. Pop-Tart Bowl is a pretty interesting one. I mean, the Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl is a ridiculous one, which I don't know if Bad Boy Mowers sponsors that one anymore. And then there was like the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl was one of them, which I don't think that one exists anymore or changed its name or something. There is a Cheez-It Bowl. I don't know if that one still exists or not. I think Cheez-It might have changed which bowl they sponsor. Mortgage on West Virginia 40-1. You can go do that if you want just to win the Big 12. Big 10, obviously one of the best conferences, man. I mean, we're looking at Big 10, SEC. Everybody knows these are the top two conferences. These are the teams that are going to get multiple teams into the playoff. Like, do I think the Big 12 is going to get multiple teams into the playoff? I don't really think so. I think it's going to be the winner. So if you want to play Utah to make the playoff or something like that, you probably get a pretty good price on that. I could definitely see that happening. I am a fan of Utah as far as what they're doing there. Go Big Red. Which team is even Big Red at this point? Is that Nebraska, Nate? I don't even know at this point. I don't know what anybody's talking about at this point. But Big 10, interesting odds here because Penn State actually has the second best odds at plus 220 versus Ohio State being at a straight up 2-1 at plus 200. Penn State seems to be the team that's getting all the hype now, man, because they're returning 14 starters. They were really good last year. They almost were able to win the championship last year, right? They lost to Notre Dame, I think, barely in the semifinal last year. They're bringing back Aller at quarterback, Alar, whatever. They have a lot of returning starters. Of course, Singleton, the running back, one wide receiver coming back. So they got guys that are coming back, but I don't know if I'm totally buying Penn State, man. I mean, for some reason, their defense really wasn't as good last year. At least for a while, it wasn't. They did have games where they had big defensive lapses. I don't know if I totally buy Aller either. He seems to make mistakes in like crucial games as well. Nebraska's playing at Arrowhead, I guess, before the Chiefs start playing. Raiola is on Nebraska, yeah, and Holgerson. So they're at Nebraska, yeah. Nebraska in the Big 10. Now, the Big 10 has way more than 10 teams, which is stupid because, of course, they have these Pacific Coast teams in their conference now, too, which is just dumb. Oregon there now, of course, as of last year. Washington and USC and UCLA are all in this conference. I would probably not put my money on Penn State, though. I think I like the way that they play. It is James Franklin. It seems like James Franklin, I mean, he's successful like anywhere that he goes, but then he just doesn't win the big games. So that's the hump he's going to have to get over. I'm not sure that I buy Ohio State either, though. Although, Ohio State is just really, really good. And, they're just going to reload constantly. So Ohio State, it's not like they're just going to be, totally out of it or anything like that. I mean, they have the best odds to win the Big Ten, even though they lost Will Howard to the draft, obviously. And they only have 9 returning starters. So I think there are going to be some growing pains early on, but it is still Ryan Day. I mean, they certainly have a chance, but I don't know if I'm totally seeing it, but I don't really like any of these teams that much, man, because Oregon, of course, lost their quarterback, too, and Dylan Gabriel, and I don't think Oregon is a very good defensive team, and they only have 5 returning starters, so I don't know if I'm seeing a whole lot out of Oregon, but, of course, these programs that constantly reload, when they have few returning starters, sometimes they just they start coalescing and doing better once they get chemistry later in the season. Oregon's at plus 370. Michigan at plus 900 is kind of interesting, man, because Michigan's kind of always there. They have 13 returning starters, including Warren, who's one of their quarterbacks, some wide receivers coming back. So Michigan does have a lot of returning starters. I I think it's going to be because how long ago did Harbaugh leave Michigan? Michigan, I forget who their coach is now, but they're going to be have a multiple year coach now there, and they're at 9-1, and they're always pretty much always in the mix there, man. Michigan, like always a program that is able to recruit. I mean, I might recommend taking the shot with Michigan to actually win the Big Ten, man. I mean, I could definitely see that happening. I mean, I'm not really sold on these other teams, even though I know Penn State probably kind of still the team to beat just because they have so many returning starters there, and you're going to have to deal with the experience where they ran through the playoffs last year. So they have experience in those big games. I know they lost the conference championship to Oregon last year, right? And then, if you remember, I was not an Oregon guy at all last year, and I faded them. I recommended fading them with Ohio State, which was one of my strongest plays as far as how I felt about it, at least. I didn't put that much more money on it early this year, but I thought Ohio State was going to beat them in the playoffs, and that is what happened. But yeah, Ohio State, I think, I don't know, the experience, lack of experience might come back to bite them. USC is at 16-1 here. I don't know what USC is really even doing here. I don't know who their quarterback is at this point. They lost Mitch Moss, I think, who was there. I forget where he is now, but he's on some other team now. They don't have a lot of returning starters with 8, so I don't know that I see USC totally doing a whole lot. And the way that these Pacific Coast teams have to cross countries, man, or cross the country, I think it's a little bit difficult. And then, as you mentioned, Nebraska, but they're all the way down at 30-1 here. With Nebraska, they have 9 returning starters, which does include Raiola, their quarterback, who thinks that he's Patrick Mahomes, basically. I'm not sure that I love that guy, and he doesn't have any of his wide receivers coming back. Maybe some coaching continuity there, but I'm not thinking there's going to be a whole lot there. Illinois at 30-1, maybe somewhat interesting just because they're returning so many starters. They have a lot of continuity. Altmaier, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, a bunch of guys returning for Illinois. They just weren't a very good team last year, although I think they kind of underperformed a bit last year, to be honest. So Illinois, I mean, maybe there's a shot to kind of make some noise there. USC has Maeva. Where was he at last year? I gotta figure out where these new quarterbacks are. I know they. Speaking of Jaden, not Jaden Daniels, but Jalen Daniels, I believe, is the Kansas quarterback, right? Let me see. Is he on the list here? I didn't even look with Kansas. Yeah, Jalen Daniels, not Jaden Daniels. So he's returning for Kansas, by the way. I forgot to mention that. But they don't have a lot of returning starters at all with only 6. But Jalen Daniels, not Jaden Daniels, is returning for them. But yeah, Illinois may be interesting. Iowa seems to always play like a really solid physical defense at 35-1 here, but their offense is really not very good usually. Kind of the style they play. They do have 10 returning starters. Don't have a returning quarterback, but with Iowa, I don't even know if it matters that much. But they don't have any returning running backs either, and not a whole lot returning on the defense, only about half. So we'll see if Iowa can really do anything. Yeah, Kansas was on fire at the end of the year last year, so I think they're trending in the right direction. Indiana, everybody remembers they made the playoffs last year and had that ridiculous season last year, but I was telling you how massively overperforming Indiana was last year, and they had all those guys that had transferred over from Ohio. They faced a really, really soft schedule last year, too. I was saying I did not buy Indiana at all. But they don't have a lot of returning starters either at 8, so I don't see a whole lot going on with Indiana here at all. I think they're going to return to somewhat irrelevance here. Colorado, by the way, of course, they lost Shedeur Sanders, and Deion Sanders is has cancer or something. So I don't know what's going on with Colorado, which I forgot to talk about them in the Big 12, but I don't see them doing a whole lot. They lost Travis Hunter as well to the draft, obviously. They only have 8 returning starters, so I don't think Colorado is going to be any good. Anyway, back to the Big 10. And then you do have, Washington at 50-1. Michigan State and Wisconsin, I mean, you would kind of expect them to be competitive because they always kind of have been in football, but Michigan State's all the way down at plus 12,000, and then Wisconsin at plus 20,000, which is just really, really long odds on those teams, man. It's just kind of wild to see that. I'm not expecting a whole lot out of either of those teams for whatever reason. I haven't been totally following them, but Michigan State, they brought over, I think they brought over some of the guys from Oregon State last year, like Childs at quarterback, and they brought over his coach from Oregon State, so they were seemingly trying to get a rebuild going there. So I don't know that Michigan State really should have odds that are as long as they are. I mean, I don't think they're going to win the conference, but they have worse odds than Minnesota. Seems odd to me. And then Wisconsin just has dropped way off the face of the earth, man. And they were a football juggernaut for so long, but they're kind of rebuilding, I guess, too. They only got 9 returning starters here. I don't know what's going on with Wisconsin and not their quarterback. Wisconsin used to be this like power, like running team with good defense, and they seem like they don't even do that anymore. Like they try to throw the ball. They went with like a spread offense. They got to get back to the physicality, man, because usually you're going to see physical teams here win the Big Ten, and then UCLA is at 200-1 as well, I guess is what that is. Crazy long odds. UCLA, I believe, has Tennessee's quarterback, I believe, went over there. What the hell is his name again? I forget his name. The dude who was at Tennessee, I don't remember his name, some Samoan name. I don't think he's a very good quarterback, though. He didn't do well with Tennessee, really, particularly, but he's going to be at UCLA now. We'll see if he has any sort of resurgence there with them, but I kind of doubt it. Big Ten going through the Buckeyes. I mean, they have the best odds to win it, but they're still an underdog against the rest of the field to win it, man. I mean, I think it kind of goes through Penn State, but Penn State has a lot of hype this year, so I'm not sure that I see that. I mean, for some reason, something is telling me Michigan might be the way to look in this conference, man. But I don't know, either Michigan or Penn State, really. I don't know. We have CUSA. Liberty's the favorite. I don't really know a whole lot about what's going on in the CUSA these days. The CUSA, I think, has some newcomers to their conference as well, or maybe that'll happen next year. Don't know what's going on with them. The Mountain West is considered to be one of the power conferences now, but Mountain West is basically Boise State's to lose. Yeah, Nico Iamaleava. Yeah, he told Tennessee Iamaleava, and then he went to UCLA. Penn State always chokes. Yeah, that's James Franklin's type of thing. Charles with an empty comment. No comment, which is basically what you have with Mountain West. I mean, Boise State, we all know they lost Ashton Jeanty, their superstar running back, to the Oakland Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm sorry, Matthew or whoever. We see still in the. Is it? Yeah, Matthew, right? I don't even remember, man. I forget everybody's name. Yeah, Matthew, who I believe is the West Virginia / Raider fan there. I don't know that Jeanty is going to do that well in the NFL, but we'll see. But Boise State, I mean, this is still their conference to lose, man. They're returning a bunch of other guys, I think. Boise is not even listed here because I guess the Mountain West is not considered to be a power conference, but I think they're returning a lot of guys. There's a reason why they're a favorite like this, and I think UNLV is going to take a step back, man. I think UNLV lost some of their guys. They might even have a new coach coming in at UNLV. Is that actually right? I don't even know. Yeah, Dan Mullen is coming in, who didn't really do well at Florida, I don't think. I don't even remember him being at Mississippi State, really. But UNLV, their coach transferred up to like a bigger school, I think. So UNLV, they're going to be going through like a transition phase here, so I don't really see them really competing here. And then it's like, what other team is going to compete with Boise in this conference? Like, I just don't really see it. I think Utah State might have Bronco Mendenhall going back to this area. Utah State, but they're at 80-1. Like, are they really going to do anything? San Diego State used to be a force in this conference, so they're at 30-1. I don't know what they're even doing there. Hawaii is actually kind of on the rise as they've had Chang as their coach there for a while. Hawaii kind of always has a little bit of a weird edge because teams have to travel out to Hawaii, so it's a weird travel spot. But then Hawaii does have to travel to the mainland, so that kind of hurts them too. I don't know what's going to happen with Hawaii. And then I think Bronco Mendenhall, left New Mexico to go to Utah State. So New Mexico down at 150-1. They're probably going to do absolutely nothing. Hawaii probably should be a little bit better, though. They're 20-1. But are they going to be able to make noise in this conference and actually compete to win this conference? I don't think so. San Jose State is crazily the third best odds at 7.5-1 there, and Fresno is at 11-1. Colorado State 16-1, and Air Force 16-1. Air Force always kind of tries to throw people off with a triple option, but Dan Mullen was great at Mississippi State. All right, well, we'll see what he can do at UNLV when he basically doesn't have any SEC recruiting channels and doesn't really have any he doesn't really have as good of a roster there. San Jose State, I think they're a really good offense and not a good defense. Don't know what they're doing this high up in the odds, though. And they did compete against some better teams last year at some points last year, though. And they've been making some bowls recently, so I guess they're kind of a program on the rise. Colorado State at 16-1. Again, sometimes you see them making a little bit of noise. I'm not sure that I really see it either. Fresno's at 11-1. But I think Fresno, I think, is in kind of a rebuild mode as well. So, yeah, this conference, I expect Boise to win the conference. I just don't see how they don't. We got SEC, which is, of course, the conference that everybody wants to really talk about. Texas is getting all the hype. They're at plus 270 here. They have the best odds to win the SEC. They have a lot of returning production as well, including Arch Manning is going to be the quarterback. And he has some experience. He played in some of their games last year because they were playing him. They don't have him listed as a returning starter here because he was technically not their starter. It was Quinn Ewers, who now got drafted. But Arch Manning is going to be the quarterback. He does have experience. They're returning more than half of their defense, at least. And we remember Texas was a very good defense last year. So one of the top defenses in the country. So their defense should still be really, really good again. They're going to need some offensive continuity, though. So we'll see if they can get it. Arch Manning, though, he does have experience. He's played in this system for a while. Like I said, he got to play some of the games where Ewers wasn't playing. So Manning, some experience there. Are they worth that price tag? I'm not entirely sure that I see Texas winning the SEC. They did win it last year, I believe, right? And I was kind of a Texas fan. I thought they were a little bit under the radar last year because they just didn't have a great offense necessarily, and they had a good defense, and that's the kind of profile that I like. So I thought Texas was a decent long shot to win the championship last year. Didn't work out that way. They had a bad turnover late in the game against Ohio State. Georgia, who everybody seems to kind of be ignoring Georgia to me, and they're at the second best odds here at plus 330. Georgia, I mean, they got a decent shot to do it, man. I mean, they have Kirby Smart still there. I mean, I know sometimes he's not so smart, but Georgia, I mean, they have all the recruiting channels. They're always a very strong defensive team, which I don't really see that not being the case here. Georgia, only 7 returning starters, which is a little bit questionable, and not a lot of their defense returning. But I think Georgia, I mean, they're going to be able to reload. But remember, their quarterback is sort of returning because it's Gunnar Stockton. He was backing up Carson Beck there, which is why he's not listed here. But Stockton played when Beck was hurt, and he played in the playoffs. So Stockton does at least have some experience there. So I could see Georgia making some noise here. Yeah, I don't trust Kirby, I guess. He's a big pink round creature, I guess. Hoping to try to cap this video at about an hour, by the way, so we'll see if we can get the rest of this done. But Georgia and Alabama, because they kind of fell off last year. Remember, Georgia just looked bad in the playoffs last year. They lost to Notre Dame, just had a bad game there. Alabama didn't even make the playoffs last year, although, you know me, I was saying that I thought Alabama should make the playoffs because the SEC, you know, I thought the SEC is still a really strong conference, man. I thought they should have gotten one more team in. Like, do you really think Alabama was worse than like SMU or teams like that last year? I mean, come on. There's no way. Anyway, by the way, I should have said Mountain West. I think Boise, if they win the Mountain West and they have like a 1 or 0 loss season, they'll be in the playoff again as well, because that's just the way that it works. SEC is probably going to get at least 3 teams into the playoff, I would imagine. Alabama, again, they're 3.8 to 1 here, plus 380. I mean, they could make some noise here. It's going to be their second year under Kalen DeBoer. So remember, he was a first-year coach for them last year because he came over from Washington. Obviously, when he was at Washington, he had his quarterback there in Penix and whatever. Didn't have those guys anymore. So he came over to Alabama, had to institute a system there. But I think a second-year coach, usually they take a step forward. So, you know, that first year that he's there is kind of a transition period. And Alabama was still pretty good. I mean, they have the recruiting channels. They always reload. It's Alabama. So I think Alabama will take a step forward. I kind of expect them to do something and make the playoffs here. And they have 14 returning starters, even though they don't have a quarterback returning here, I guess. But they have running back, wide receivers. Almost their entire defense is returning. And Alabama probably going to be pretty good defensively here. So Alabama, you definitely can't write them off. LSU, I know there are a lot of professionals that like LSU, not only to maybe even win the SEC, but just to get into the playoffs and actually make noise in the playoffs, because LSU, I mean, they have Brian Kelly as their coach. He's an experienced coach. To me, I think he always kind of falls apart though, Brian Kelly. Like he seems to just kind of, he always fails in like that first game of the season. And then to me, it seems like he kind of fails in like the bigger games as well. Didn't like him when he was at Notre Dame. Don't really like him here with LSU. Never really liked LSU or Notre Dame. My apologies. But LSU does have Nussmeier returning, who is their quarterback, who's a very good quarterback, very experienced quarterback. One of his wide receivers is back. And Durham, the running back, is back as well. So kind of their top skill position players are kind of back for LSU. They're at 7-1 here. LSU's defense has been really bad over the last couple of years, which is weird because they're known as a defensive team in the SEC, but their defense has been bad, so they're going to have to clean that up. But they definitely have a shot in the SEC here. I mean, to me, it's actually difficult to figure out what's going to happen in the SEC here, man. I mean, I'm kind of thinking Georgia might be able to do it. And remember, Kirby Smart, by the way, back on Georgia. Georgia lost 3 games last year, I think, and they have only lost 5 games, I think, over the last 3 seasons under Kirby Smart, which is insane. Texas A&M at 15-1. They are in the mix. I mean, I think they made the conference championship last year, right, and lost to Texas, I believe is what happened, right? Or did they lose the prior game? I don't remember. But they have 15 returning starters, including Reed, their quarterback. They got a running back returning. They don't have any of the wide receivers returning. 8 players on defense returning. So A&M, a lot of returning starters, and I think they have Mike Elko there at coach now, and he hasn't been there for that long, and he's coming in, instituting his system. So I think there's going to be some more continuity there. So A&M, as far as like a long shot, I mean, I think A&M might be a decent way to look. Maybe a long shot there. I think they can compete for sure. Ole Miss is probably going to take a step back, even though I assume they still have Lane Kiffin there, but obviously they don't have Jackson Dart there anymore, who, you know, I like him. I don't think they have a whole lot of returning production. They're at 16-1. Seems like the price is probably still too high on Ole Miss there. Like, I don't think there's any value there with them. Florida at 18-1. Interesting. Florida. I mean, they have Lagway there. DJ Lagway, their quarterback, I believe, is still there, so he's returning. Florida, I think they're a little bit on the up and coming again there. They have 13 returning starters, which is pretty good. Last couple of years, I think they were better than maybe what their performance was. So I do think Florida has a shot to make some noise here at 18-1. Tennessee, they're going to have a new quarterback there at 25-1. Can't really be worse than Iamaleava, I don't think. But we'll see what happens with Tennessee. I'm not expecting a whole lot. South Carolina seems to get a lot of hype because they have Sellers. Is that his name there? Their quarterback. But they're all the way down at 25-1. Yeah, Lenora Sellers. He is a good quarterback. They have 1 wide receiver returning, no running backs. Not a lot of their defense returning. South Carolina, they're at 25-1. I think they're a little bit hyped, though, because everybody seems to like Sellers, and he looked really good towards the end of last year. He had that game where he looked pretty good, competed against Clemson last year in the rivalry week towards the end of the season. I'm not really sure that I see South Carolina really doing a whole lot there. I actually think they're overvalued. Oklahoma at 28-1. I mean, I don't even know who Oklahoma is going to have at their quarterback. Now, I think they're kind of in a transition period. Oklahoma, I don't know that they're really built to be in the SEC, to be honest, because they haven't really been much of a defensive team. I don't think they're more of like an offensive kind of finesse team. Auburn, I think, underperformed big time last year, and they're at 28-1. I mean, I could see Auburn maybe having some value because they have good recruiting. They usually are pretty competitive. They have 11 returning starters. Their quarterback's not returning, but Auburn could be worth a look there, man. I mean, again, I think they really underperformed last year, and they lost me a couple of bets last year that I think they should have won those games, and it really pissed me off. Just some weird like freak turnovers. I think Auburn, because they've kind of fallen off and people just don't even consider them anymore, really. I think Auburn, I mean, I'm not expecting them to win the SEC or anything like that, but I think they could definitely be better this year. Missouri lost Cook, their quarterback. They're at 60-1. Arkansas at 150-1. They've like really fallen off again. I don't know what's going on with them. I don't know what's going on with really the rest of these teams. Vandy had that kind of surprise year last year, but they're 200-1. Not expecting really anything. And then Kentucky 250-1. Even though Kentucky had some surprise games last year too, I think they're falling off as well. And then Mississippi State 500-1. Really expected to just be a total doormat. College games, I haven't for a while, but yeah, I've gone to some BC games against Florida State, against Army. I don't even remember. I've definitely been to some college football games there at Boston College. That tends to be where I go. I mean, they're the team basically in the Boston area, but it's not easy to get to really. You got to go out to Chestnut Hill because they're not really in the city of Boston. They're outside in this like kind of rich area where I think the hood element has not reached over where BC is yet. They're kind of up on a hill. They're a Catholic school out there. But anyway, to me, I might go with Georgia, man, in the SEC. I don't know. I mean, I think they kind of underperformed a bit towards the end of last year. They always just kind of reload, get stacked. They got a quarterback with some experience there. So I'm kind of seeing that they might make some noise there. I mean, I still wouldn't be shocked if Texas won it. Obviously, Alabama, LSU do have a shot there, and I kind of do like Texas A&M. And, Florida, I'm not expecting them to win the conference, but they might do something. Sun Belt, I don't even know what is going on in the Sun Belt, man. Marshall still at 30-1 to win this conference after their entire team left. Tells you this is not a good conference. JMU has the best odds, and they're pretty new to FBS football. They're plus 260. Louisiana Lafayette, or just Louisiana now, is at 7-1, and then Texas State 7.5-1, South Alabama 7.5-1, and Georgia Southern 7.5-1. Don't know what's going on with those teams. I haven't really looked into it, but those are the odds there for the Sun Belt, and that is it. And then we'll look at. I'm going to talk about winning the championship before we get out of here, which is where I have to talk about Notre Dame because they're not in a conference. The team name, which team name are people hyped on? South Carolina, the Gamecocks. Yeah, Saturday is for the Cocks, man. You see that meme with that chick in the stands with Saturday is for the Cocks. Nice part of town. Well, it's still a party school though, man. You got like frat boys over there, but at least they're not the hood over there. It's still, it's frat boys partying. Yeah, the Gamecocks. Yeah. And yeah, there is like a tailgate scene over at Boston College as well that kind of gets overlooked. I mean, it's definitely a party environment over there. To win the entire championship, Ohio State, even though they were the winner last year, no Massachusetts schools. Oh yeah, you really think BC is going to win the national championship? Hell no. I hate that law, though, by the way, that you can't bet on any Massachusetts schools in Massachusetts. So you have to find ways to kind of get around that. Offshore books is what I would recommend, but a lot of the offshore books you can't really access anymore either. It's very much bullshit. Ohio State has the best odds to win the championship again at 5.5-1 plus 550. I mean, this field is wide open. Do I think Ohio State is going to repeat as champion? No, I don't really think so. I mean, they don't have Will Howard anymore. I don't really see it. They're going to have a quarterback, I think, with more experience to do it. Texas certainly could. I mean, they were on the cusp last year, and they do have at least Manning, who has experience, although his big game experience is kind of lacking. Penn State, I know there's the hype there, but at least Aller did play in the semifinals last year, right? So out of these teams, Penn State actually has the most experience, and they're at 7-1. Penn State, I mean, I know they seem to be too hyped, and I know James Franklin he never is able to win the whole thing, but out of these top teams, I think they at least have more experience. Texas, I think, is going to be good because of their defense mostly. Georgia at 7.5-1. I mean, obviously they got a shot, and Gunnar Stockton at least did play in the playoffs last year, so there is a chance there. Clemson, again, has a lot of experience, a lot of returning starters, but they play kind of a weak schedule in the ACC, so at 10-1, I don't really see that happening. 10-1 on Alabama. I see all these teams still making the playoffs most likely, though. Ohio State, Texas. I mean, out of these conferences, I think probably you're going to get 3 or 4 out of the SEC. Probably you're going to see Texas, Georgia. I expect Alabama to return to the playoff field this year. And I think LSU, you may see them make it. There's an outside shot. Maybe A&M gets in and one of those other teams doesn't. Probably the way that I would look there. I think A&M maybe above Florida as far as that. ACC, I think probably only Clemson gets in. But we'll see. And then Big Ten, Ohio State most likely is going to be in some capacity. Penn State likely probably will be. They might get 4 teams in as well, man. I'm not sure that Oregon might not make the playoffs, man. It would be wild, but I think they might fall short of the playoffs. I think Michigan might actually get into the field, man. But you know me, I kind of tend to lean towards these teams that just have the more like name recognition there just because they're the historically better programs. But I think that sometimes is the way that it happens. And then, as I mentioned, LSU, like they might be able to make it that far. I mean, they got a really good quarterback at least there. Notre Dame, here's where we have to talk about Notre Dame, which I don't think they're on this graphic here, right? Let me see. Oh, no, they actually are. They're listed here. Notre Dame is listed here with 11 returning starters. Of course, they don't have Lincoln Riley anymore. They do have a really good coach in, what's his name? Freeman, is that his name? He is a really good coach. Marcus Freeman, I think is his name. Really, really good coach. I don't know, Notre Dame, because they run the ball so much and they have a solid defense, I don't really know that their quarterback matters that much, but I still think Notre Dame kind of overperformed last year just because they're not in a conference, so they don't play that strong of a schedule. This year, they do have a stronger schedule early in the season, but I could see them losing a couple games potentially early in the season, man, including they have to play Miami, I think, in their opener, and I think Miami does have a chance to win that game. So Notre Dame schedule a little bit more difficult this year, and that was kind of, it's always the knock on them. They don't play in a conference, so their schedule is never as great. So we'll see. They do still have the running back coming back, and a lot of their defense at least. So we'll see what happens with Notre Dame. I think they might fall short of the playoff, to be honest, because with Notre Dame, they don't play in a conference, and if they lose 3 games, I don't think they're going to be making the playoff, and I could see that happening. So I'm definitely not sold on Notre Dame yet. Morgan Freeman, he is a black guy named Freeman, at least. If they don't make it, it does open it up for one of these other teams to make it, man. So we'll see. But to me, I mean, if I had to choose, it's really a difficult choice, man. I mean, Texas and Penn State, they just seem too hyped to me, but I'm not sold on Ohio State with just that lack of experience there. Penn State seems to not be able to win the big games. I mean, it's almost crazy, but I think maybe like Georgia might be the way to look. You like South Carolina. Where are they at? They're at 10-1 to win the whole thing. 100-1, right? Is that what it is? Wait, where are they at? Yeah, no, they're at 70-1, South Carolina. You want USC? I don't know what you're talking about, man. Oh, USC. You want USC at 100-1. I'm not sure that I don't know if I totally buy it. I don't know if I see it, but some long shot is going to like slip into the playoff here, man. And then you have teams like Boise that are probably going to get in there at 250-1. I mean, because they're going to make the playoff, most likely, as long as they win their conference and they don't lose more than like one game, you'll see Boise get in. So if you want to play them at 250-1 to win the championship, I don't think they're going to win the championship, obviously, but if they get into the playoff, then you'll have a really decent hedging opportunity because you'll be able to win money, basically. If you play them at 250-1 and then they make the playoff, then you could hedge some of it back against them and you'll win money, you know what I mean? So you could do that. But yeah, I know there are a lot of professionals that like LSU to win the championship. They do have an experienced quarterback. I'm not sure that their defense is good enough, so it's actually really, really difficult to gauge, man. And again, A&M, I do kind of like them this year, so at 40-1, maybe there are some decent odds. If they slip into the playoff, if they sneak into the playoffs, it's going to be really interesting, I think, man. And some of these other teams might fall short of the playoff. But I think, to me, generally, though, I kind of look to the teams that are getting overlooked because they basically didn't do it last year, like Georgia. Well, Texas was kind of overlooked last year too, but Georgia, nobody really liked them at the end of the year last year. Alabama didn't even make the playoffs. I think they're going to come out with some fire here. And they're playing tough schedules too. Michigan didn't make the playoff. They might return to form a little bit here. I don't think they're going to really have enough to win the whole thing. But I mean, you could maybe see some of these teams being able to do something like that, but yeah, I mean, to me, I'm kind of leaning towards Georgia, to be honest, because they do have that pedigree there. And if Gunnar Stockton gets that experience behind him, has a little bit already, has some big game experience, I'm kind of seeing Georgia maybe being the way to go as far as a championship pick. But we will see. And I think that's going to do it, man. I mean, I don't know if this is a very informative show here, but I figured I'd give the people something, give the people what they want here, do about an hour. The Dirty South, USC. I'm still not seeing USC, man. I've never really been a fan of just their style. I think they're a more finesse team. They were in the Pac-12. I don't really see it. I don't see it translating that well to like the Big Ten, where you have physical teams in the Big Ten. So we'll see. Georgia, they always reload on defense. And defense, the experience matters less on defense. Like once guys go through a season, like a defense is a defense. Like it's easier to learn a system with defense than with offense. Offense is more complicated. So the defense is usually ready to go like sooner. And it's easier to again, just reload talent on defense, I think. But, this is the NIL and the transfer portal now, too. So you got to see what transfers come in, too. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't talk about any of the transfers really here, but some of these teams have transfers as well. So they're going to be those players that have experience already just because they're transferring into some new school and whatever. But I like continuity a lot more, man, which is why it's the one drawback of the transfer portal is that I like the continuity. I like guys that have played together for like multiple years in basketball, even more so than football. And then they have that experience, playing together, and it tends to work out pretty well for them, but we will see. Yeah, I'm thinking Georgia definitely has a decent shot. Alabama, they're probably just not going to have enough experience on quarterback to get there, but I do think Alabama will return to the playoff field this year, would be my guess, because I don't even think they should have been left out of it last year. And LSU, I can tell you, I know there are professional bettors that like LSU at the 14-1 to win the whole thing, which they do have an experienced coach. They do have a very good experienced quarterback at the very least. And Nussmeier, I think he got hurt towards the late portion of last season too, right? And then LSU, they lost too many games. They have a difficult schedule. They lost too many games last year too, like in conference. And the SEC is a gauntlet. And my worry about LSU, again, is that their defense isn't good enough. So they need to somehow get their defense back. Autism loves routine. That's right. But anyway, that's going to do it. So I think who I think are going to win these, bigger conferences, I still think it's going to be Clemson in the ACC. I'm going with Georgia, I guess, in the SEC to just return to that. Big Ten, I actually went with Michigan, which sounds crazy, but we'll see what can happen there. And then what else did I do? I forget what else I gave up. Michigan at least is a decent long shot, although Penn State does have the experience, and Penn State was in the championship game last year, so I wouldn't really write Penn State off as far as winning that conference. And then what else? And then Texas did win their conference championship last year too, so they do have experience doing that too. So I'm not really necessarily going to write those two teams off just because they're both really hyped, but they are really hyped. And then I think Boise. I would highly doubt that Boise loses that terrible Mountain West. And then I like Utah. So Utah, actually, what are Utah's odds? Let me bring it back up quickly. Utah to win the whole thing. That might be interesting. They're at what is that? Plus 11,000, man. Utah. If they win the Big 12, they'll get in them. And I don't think they're going to win the whole thing, obviously, but they are a physical team. And if they win the Big 12, get into the field, then you'll be able to hedge against Utah and hedge that bet. So I like Utah. Well, Utah, the Utes are not really Mormon necessarily, though the more Mormon team is BYU. But and then I guess Utah State kind of tends to be more that way too. I don't know. Utah seems to have a lot of Samoans on their team for whatever reason. But yeah, I like Utah in that weak-ass conference there. And again, if you take Utah to win the whole thing and they do get into the playoff field, you're sitting on a good bet there. And then I think you have to hedge it because they're not going to win the championship. But I like Utah as far as winning that like really weak Big 12 conference there. And I think they might be the only team that gets in. And what is it? It's a 12-team playoff right now. So like what would the 12 teams be then if that was the case? I think we get Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, Georgia, Clemson, Alabama. I think all those teams get in, so we're already up to, what are we up to? We're up to 6. I'm actually skipping Notre Dame and Oregon. I think Michigan gets in, 7. LSU, 8. Boy, it's so tough, man. I'm going to give Utah the one from the Big 12, so that's 9. And then we need 3 more. Who the hell are they going to be? Boise State would be 10 because I think the Mountain West winner probably gets in as long as Boise doesn't lose too many. And then who would the other 2 be, though? That's crazy. There have to be 2 more teams that get in. And that seems insane, man. What are we going to get? Like 5 teams from a single conference getting in? Or are we going to get a second team in for the Big 12? Like, if we're going to go with a second team from the Big 12, I'd probably go with Kansas State. But, man, it kind of seems like a long shot to me. Even though I think they have better odds. They have slightly better odds than Utah does. But I'm not sure that I love that. I mean, I kind of like Texas A&M to sneak in there. And then who would the other team even be? Like, do we actually get an additional ACC team in there and maybe like somehow Miami gets in? Maybe. Maybe that's what we'll go with. Yeah, I mean, it's so early. Who the hell knows? I mean, this is all just such speculation. But when you're playing future markets like this, you're looking for value, man. You're not necessarily saying this team is going to win the whole thing. You're saying you think they're going to be able to make a run, possibly get into the playoffs, and then you'll be able to hedge against them. Miami's not going to run the table, that's for sure. But the ACC is not a very good conference nonetheless. But I think Miami should do pretty well. I mean, I think they definitely have a shot to contend in that conference, and it seems like nobody is even really talking about them. So kind of weird because they have a very experienced quarterback there at least. But everybody just kind of thinks he's a pussy, like basically just because of his face. But again, he played in a very strong SEC, Carson Beck. So we'll see what happens. That's going to do it. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Hopefully this was a decent show. I'll try to get it up on audio as well, but hopefully Descript, because Descript limits the amount of descriptions that you can run in a 30-day period, and I kind of butt right up against that with the tier that I'm on. I don't really want to have to pay more, so we'll see what happens. But thanks, guys, for hanging out, and that's going to do it for now. Learn to Toad on Twitter, Learn to Toad on Instagram. Had the 2-0 day today with Better Off Dead. Better Off Dead, of course, BTTOR, which is where you are here now. YouTube, on the audio platforms as well. Like, subscribe, rate, do all that stuff. Thanks, Charles. Thanks, Curtis. Hopefully this was all right. Hopefully it was interesting because I don't know enough about all the different personnel changes, man. I should know more. Again, I'm more of an in-season, like week-to-week guy. So I'll be back tomorrow night and I'll do a week 0 video, which it'll be short because I think there are only about 3 games or so to talk about, maybe 5 at most as far as the FBS is concerned. So I'll be back probably around midnight for that, and that's going to do it. Up late every fucking night, man. Oh, my God. Happy Friday, man. Let's kick off the weekend here. I'll be back in the morning, obviously, with the Friday normal Better Off Dead show. We got baseball to break down for the most part on Friday, and I think there might be some NFL too. I'm not even sure. At preseason still going on, but we'll see. Anyway, yeah, Better Off Dead. Go like, subscribe, rate, all that stuff. Go to Covered in Uke on YouTube as well for my Uke stuff, and patreon.com/learntotode, and you can get some bonus Uke stuff there. Did another Uke cover today. I'm kind of getting back to it, even though I think my right index finger is like, I think there might be a broken bone in there or something, man, because it's really bad. I don't know if you can tell. It's swollen. I can't really bend. Like something at the top knuckle, it like really hurts. And I'm trying to play Uke with it with my slapping. It's like, man, that was painful to do that video, man. My voice came back a little bit at least for it, but that's going to do it. Thanks, everybody, and peace.